This is Chris from Rekkid Talk, and so we're going to do a final finds video. So this is when I went back to Germantown. You may remember my Germantown series from my thrifting videos last year. I went back there to Space Monkey Records, so they have like sort of their back room area where you can dig through stuff that they don't have out on the main floor. They have several thousand 45s back there, amongst other things. I dug through maybe 1/3 of them on my previous visit, so I kind of went through a different portion of them this time. It looked pretty much the same on this visit as it had on my visit back in 2022. So, of course, their phone number is 8675309, and I'm going to show you some of the singles I bought. These are all $1 each. No picture sleeves. I think they pull all their picture sleeves for their main floor. So it's going to be all over the place in terms of year, in terms of genre, because that's how it is. So the first thing I'm going to show, I'm filming this just after the passing of Sinead O'Connor. So I found a Nothing Compares to You there. And this was a few weeks before she had passed away that I found these records on Chrysalis Records. Song called Jump in the River as the flip side. And so I thought this sleeve was pretty cool, this Island 45 company sleeve, and it's got Relax by Frankie Goes to Hollywood from 1983. Then the next several I found are all James Brown singles, and they're all in good shape. And I pretty much instantly buy a James Brown single if it's in good shape, because it's not easy to find them in good shape. So this is These Foolish Things from 1963. Papa's Got a Brand New Bag, Parts 1 and Part 2 from 1965. Oh, those are all on the King label. For some reason, James Brown's Boogaloo is on Smash Records. So who knows why? We've got Licking Stick from 1968. We had parts 1 and 2 again. So a lot of times he's got his long, funky jams that they break up over the two sides of the 7-inch record. And then this one is Spinning Wheel from 1971. You can see this is the one that has the custom James Brown label with his face on it. And it's in a King Company sleeve. And then the final one I found was from later in his career, 1981. This promo Stay With Me on TK Records, which I think was mostly a disco label. Another person that's usually an instant buy for me is Aretha Franklin's. So we've got 8 Days on the Road and Ain't Nothing Like the Real Thing from 1974 promo. And then Angel from 1973. This is a stereo mono sort of promo. So it's got the mono version on one side with the red label and the stereo on the other side with the blue label. The other one had 2 different songs in it, all stereo. Found a couple Bill Haley in the comments. Some of the maybe not so famous songs like Razzle Dazzle from 1955 and The Saints Rock and Roll from 1956. Also on Decca Records is here the Owen Bradley Quintet with Big Guitar and Sentimental Dream. This is sort of instrumental country rockabilly that came out in 1958. I think Owen Bradley had been doing country music for several years. I don't really understand why I bought this, but this is a 1993 Canadian reissue of Tiptoe Through the Tulips by Tiny Tim that for some reason has the Alley-Oop song by Dante and the Evergreens on the back. So the Tiny Tims from 1968, the Alley-Oop from 1960. Recently I've been in a bit of a rabbit hole on YouTube involving Laugh-In. So I I was just born during that time that Laugh-In was around, very small child, so I didn't watch it back in the day. Rewatching it, there's stuff I don't understand. There's stuff I understand, but I think it's unfunny dad jokes. Occasionally stuff that's funny. Found a Mr. Bojangles by the original songwriter, Jerry Jeff Walker. So that's the Jerry Jeff Walker version of Mr. Bojangles. I've never had a Fanny record before. Now I do. I found this 1974 promo of a single called I've Had It, which was on Casablanca Records. I don't think they were on Casablanca very long. And then in some older stuff, we've got Bobby Freeman with sort of this ballad rockabilly as listed on Discogs on the Posey label from 1958. Betty Lou got a new pair of shoes. He's more known for the Do You Wanna Dance, which also came out in that year, 1958. On the Garage, we've got some Land of a Thousand Dances by Cannibal, and the Headhunters on the Rampart label. And so they were a East LA Mexican-American garage band that had that hit. This is also listed as Garage, the Five Americans, Western Union on the Abnac label. It's pretty poppy sounding. Something that I found that I thought was a very strange find there was this Irish record from 1961 by Patricia Blake. So you've got The Dying Rebel, My Only Son Was Shot in Dublin. And then a song called Old Ireland Free Once More on the backside. And you can see that it had sort of the prongish middle that somebody long ago punched out. Maybe this used to be Sean's record, because he's a big proponent of punching out your singles. And so I have the punched out version of that. If Yolanda, the Queen of Sevens, is watching, here's from 1984, the Pat Metheny Group on ECM, Yolanda You Learn. And you can see my copy's pretty dusty there. It's a promo. It's the same song on both sides. So kind of that sort of contemporary jazz fusion. Not really sure why this would be out on a 7-inch single. That seems a little bit weird. We're down to the final few here. So we've got a couple really terrible records that I'm going to be showing here. So on the Alpha International Records, we have Jody Bongiovi doing a cover of that Jefferson Airplane song, Somebody to Love, produced by Tony Bongiovi. And so Jody is the cousin of the more famous John Bon Jovi. And then the producer, Tony Bongiovi, I think is her uncle. I'm not exactly sure. I think he's John's uncle as well. I'm not the vinyl genealogist. But anyway, this came out in 1989. If you find pictures of her, she's got the big hair. The band basically looks like a second-rate hair metal band because it's basically second-rate AOR hair metal. I found a unkind review of her who said she sounded like Debbie. Her voice wasn't really suited for hard rock, and said she sounded like Debbie Gibson had raided her parents' liquor cabinet. And then there's their own song on the other song, cut from the same stone. It's not any good either. She put out an album that year. I think it's the only album she ever put out. Certainly did not become a star like her cousin. And then in the country novelty realm, I bought this solely based on the title of the song. If 10% is good enough for Jesus, it ought to be enough for Uncle Sam by Milton Crabapple. And if you're imagining this is going to be pretty lame country novelty humor with a conservative slant, that's exactly what it is. If this had been put out today, they would probably be talking about woke, but this apparently came out in like the early 1990s. And then the final one I'm going to show you guys, coming in at just over 10 minutes for this video. I've actually found this record before. So Sherry Holly is Buddy Holly's niece, and this was produced by her father, Larry Holly, who was Buddy's brother. I found this record last year, so it's got Raining in My Heart, this Boudleaux and Bryant, a song on one side, and then her own song, Hard Rock Cafe, on the other side, which is actually better. It's got a bit of a 50s rock feel to it, where Raining in My Heart pretty much was just kind of a straight country song on the Holly House label. And so this one's autographed. To Don, hope you enjoy this, Sherry Holly. Now, I don't have any provenance to prove that this was actually signed by Sherry Holly. But then again, having something signed by Sherry Holly probably doesn't really add to the value of it in any case. And the cool blue translucent vinyl, I think it came out in the mid-1980s. Discogs doesn't have an exact date on that. So that's a variety of cool and weird singles that I found digging at good old Space Monkey Records.